Okay, so we're going to now be doing a review for your week 17, which is the second last week of this program. And we're still talking about changed conjunct order, okay, as like the new frontier for us. But ABC form is still all being practiced, and we need to be able to hop between those different forms pretty well. So we'll do a little bit more review, a little bit more practice on that. But ultimately, I would like to look at a bunch of the different types of content questions you can make with C-form. Okay, of course, you need C-form to make those who, what, where, when, why, how questions. Okay, so we'll look at how to make a bunch of those. We'll do examples. And the other thing I really want to do in this video is look at how to find this stuff in resources, how to find what the change conjunct looks like. And there's a couple really easy ways to do that. So we'll try and fold that in here as well. Okay, so let's get to it. I'll share my screen. We'll go for it. Let's get this open here. Okay, so let's get rolling. So we've already gone over a bit of that ABC stuff in our last video here, but I'll just quickly restate it and we'll do a couple little practices. Okay, A form. These are this forms complete sentences on its own. All right, like the cat is sleeping, the dog is barking, I was laughing, you will be canoeing, everything like that. And same with VIIs, like, it is 11 o'clock, it will storm later. All those things are A form. Okay, my name is Mitch. Your name is whatever. And we also use a form to make a lot of yes or no questions, right? So like, is the sky blue? Does the food taste good? Does the song sound nice? Um, is the old man, snoring? Okay, all those types of yes or no questions are also done with A form. B form, okay, forms dependent clauses, aka um, does not form complete sentences on its own. So these are making subordinate clauses. These are making conditional clauses. These are making all these other types of clauses, okay, that don't make complete sentences by themselves. Okay. And when we're looking at B form, we're looking at, the grammar patterns in B form that you're going to be looking for are like when I'm hungry, or, if you go to the store, or until it stops raining, or during the meeting, or while I'm in town, I'm going to pick this up. Or you get things like verbing, okay, which is going to be something like, um, I was out for a walk looking for birds. Well, looking for birds, dot, 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 is a B form clause. Then there's also like to do something, right? So I am learning to speak Ojibwe. Well, to speak Ojibwe, dot, 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 is a dependent clause. It's in B form for sure. And same with like in order to and things like that, right? Like I am getting ready in order to leave. That type of thing absolutely is going to be in B form. Okay. And it goes on and on. There's more than that. There's things like before I eat, I'm going to wash my hands. Well, before I eat, absolutely in B form. All right. So these are the types of things that you're using B form for a lot of the time. There's other things, but those are some really basic ones to get you up and rolling. Okay. And then there's C form. All right. And C form, also known as changed conjunct order. Okay. And it does one thing in particular. I mean, it does multiple things, but the one that, like, at this level, try and really remember this is that it forms participles. Okay. Forms participles. That's the big one. Okay. And a participle is a verb acting like a noun. All right. An example of that is like, the something like you can pick whatever it is, like someone who is, I don't know, jumping becomes a jumper, and a jumper is a noun. Okay. So jumping, which is the verb, becomes a jumper, which is a noun. Okay. And we're basically doing that in a language too. Okay. Taking a verb and sort of changing its form so that we can use it more noun. But you do this to be able to make content questions like who, what, where, when, why, how. You use it to make nouns. You use it to also create like these other different styles of grammar patterns, okay, that are more advanced, right? We're not going to talk about those yet, but you can do it to do a lot of cool things, okay, in the language. So, with that being said, let's look at a couple of these. We'll start with a couple of VIIs. We'll bring them through ABC. Okay, well, I'll just do like one or two examples of this. So if I do something like Nichiwad, Nichiwad. Nichiwad in A form means it is bad weather, or it is stormy, or it's like foul weather. That's A form. It is bad weather, or there is poor weather, period. Okay, A form. Nichiwad, if I want to put it into B form, it's a VII that ends in a D. And to put that into conjunct order, that D becomes a K. Nichiwak. Nichiwak, dot, dot, dot. Okay. When it's bad weather, or if it's bad weather, or until there's bad weather, or, you know, before there's bad weather, any of those B form little patterns that we talked about here, right? All these ones. Okay. And then we can go all the way to C form. So if we look at Nichiwad, right? I guess I should mention that, and I'll circle up here and add that uh, our little sort of, what do you call it? Like a formula for C form. Okay. Initial change plus conjunct ending equals C form. Okay. So when it comes to that initial change, I talked about that in the last video, so I'm not going to restate that fully here. But initial change is when you take like the first vowel of the verb and you change it to one of those preset things. Like A becomes E, I becomes E, O becomes we, two A's become a ya, two I's become ah, two O's become wah, and then becomes a yeah, right? Those all those preset changes, okay? And I think I had them in my last video. So here in the Chiwad, the first vowel is this I, the short I, which becomes an E. D becomes a K because that's the conjunct ending. So we end up with Nechiwak, Nechiwak. Initial change, B form ending. Boom. That's that. Okay. Nechiwak, Nechiwak. Okay. And this one's a little bit weird to interpret. It's sort of like you could just view it as like poor weather, like for the weather to be bad, like poor weather, Nechiwak, for it to be poor weather. Um, or you could view it as sometimes C form creates like the after, so it could be like after um, poor weather. That's another thing. Like if you put stuff in C form, depending on the context, it can mean after. That's like one of the things C form does. Um, so this one's a little bit weird to interpret with no context, but that's roughly what you'd get. It'd be the poor weather itself, viewing it kind of like nouny, or it would be like something like after. Okay. So there it is. Nichi what? A form. Nichi wuk. B form. Nechi wuk. C form. Okay. Let's do one more VII just to say we've done another one. Okay. And then we'll kind of move on from there. I can do something like maybe inagande. This one's kind of useful. Okay. Inagande. Inagande means in A form, it costs a certain amount. Okay, period. Inaganda. It's a VII verb. It costs a certain amount, period. Okay. Then I can take it and put it into B form. Inaganda. Inaganda. Again, this is now a VII that ends in a vowel. So to put it into conjunct order, just B form, plain conjunct, put a G at the end. Okay. Dot, dot, dot. It's now like when or if, when it costs a certain amount. Okay, a nug deck when it costs a certain price. Okay, like when it costs $10. Okay, a P nug deck midaswabik when it costs $10. Or if it costs $5, gishpin non-wabik nug deck if it costs $5. Okay, so you can do like that stuff with it. And then finally, we can take it to C form all the way. Okay, so if we look at na gendeg, the first vowel is this I up at the front. I becomes E, and that is initial change. Done. And then the second thing, oh yeah, well, I already had it on here in Nuggendeg. I already had that conjunct ending. So in Nuggendeg becomes Nuggendeg, Nuggendeg, Nuggendeg. This now in English, okay, Nuggendeg, if A form means it costs a certain amount, in C form, it's the amount it costs, aka um, its price or its cost. Okay, that's what enagandeg now means. Enagandeg, the amount it costs. And that's how you could use that with a question word like onish. Onish enagandeg. How how is its price or what is its price? Onish enagandeg. Onish enagandeg il godas. How much does the dress cost? Onish enagandeg il Wilquan. How much does the hat cost? Anisha Nagandegyo Noggin. How much does the plate cost? Right? You could do whatever. Anisha Nagandegyo Mashkimat. How much does the bag cost? So that's what you could do with a Nagandeg like this. All right. So there's a couple of VIIs all the way to C form. I'm quickly going to do like maybe one or two VAI examples now as well. Okay. Do one or two VAI examples. So we'll do third person singular to start. Okay, so if I do something like um, maybe a verb like like bape, bape in A form means he or she laughs. Period. Bape, he or she laughs. If I want to put that into B form for still the third person, okay, bape, and I want to say when he or she laughs, dot, 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 or if he or she laughs or whatever, we're just going to add a D because you add a D at the end for third person singular on the VAI. Okay, so bopid, when he laughs. Oh, gishpin gwilzans bopid, if the boy laughs, right? Gishpin gwilzans bopid, if the boy laughs. But now let's take it all the way to C form. Okay, so if I'm looking at bopid, we need initial change at the front and then conjunct ending at the end. So initial change, well, the first vowel is this double A, and ah becomes ayah. Ah becomes ayah. That's that initial change. Okay, so that's what we've added here. And then at the end, we're still putting our D because we want it for the third person singular. It's still that same actor, him or her. Okay, so now we have Biopid. Biopid. And Biopid is the laugher or the one who laughs. Okay, Biopid. Biopid, the laugher. Okay, Biopid, the laugher. So that's what that does. Okay, Bopid, Bopid, Biopid. He laughs when he laughs, and the one who laughs. All right, let's do one more. We'll do something like this. How about we'll do like undinige, because this will work. Undinige. So undinige means he or she gets things from somewhere. Okay, he or she gets things from somewhere. So I want to say I get things from somewhere. We're going to do a form for me. So what happens to undinige in a form to say I get things from somewhere? In a form, that's really where you're doing the ind. Indondinige. Indondinige. I get things from somewhere. Me. Okay. Indondinige. I get things from somewhere. Period. Okay. A form. Now to B form. Now for B form, remember, conjunct is endings. So what goes at the end to make undinige? When I get things from somewhere. When I get stuff from somewhere. Undinige yawn. Okay. When I get things from somewhere. Dot, dot, dot. Undinige yawn. Undinige yawn. Undinige yawn. When I get things from somewhere. Now let's take it all the way to C form. Okay, so we have undinige, and we got to go through our two steps. Initial change. Up at the front, we have an O. O becomes WE. And then it's still me at the end. So it's yawn because we need initial change and conjunct ending. We do something at the front and the back. Okay, so when dinige yawn. When dinige yawn. When dinige yawn. And now, what does this become in English? When dinige yawn. If A form is I get things from somewhere, C form is where I get things, or the place I get stuff from, or where I get things. Okay. When dinageon. Or mio de odenong. Mi when dinageon. Oh, over there in town. That's where I get things. Okay. Mio de odenong jayon. Gare on Dinigayon. I go over there to town to get things. That's where I go to get things. So it's kind of cool, all right? That's what you can do with this now, when Dinigayon. So then I could take that and pair it with a question word like Ampish, where? Ampish when Dinigayon. Where do I go to get things? Ampish when Dinigayon. Mage Ampish when Dinigayon. Where do you go to get things? Ampish when Dinigayon. Where do you go to get stuff? Or where do you get things? And then I could ask, like, where does that woman get stuff from? On Pish Wendineget, oh, where does she get things? On Pish Wendineget, Kinegego, where's that woman get everything? Okay, so that's the whole point of this, okay, is that you can use these C form verbs to then make questions. So let's jump into a couple of those, okay, for examples. All right, so if I use something like deben dogoze as a base verb, okay, and I want to make a question like, you know, uh, where do you belong? AKA, what is your band? Okay, use the verb deben dogoze to ask like somebody's band, like what their membership is, what community they belong to. Okay, deben dogoze means he or she belongs somewhere. So then let's do it. Where do you belong? Our question word at the front is going to be ampish, ampish, ampish. And then the verb dependagose needs to be put into C form for you because I'm asking where do you belong? So up at the front, initial change, I becomes E. And then at the end, the conjunct ending for you is yin. Ampish dependagose, ampish dependagose, ampish dependagose. Where do you belong? Or like what's your band? Ampish dependagose. Then you would say, oh, Neyaashiinigamiing, Neyaashiinigamiing. Then we take dibandagase, the verb, with a dibandagase, and we need to say, I am from there. A form, right? We're answering. I'm from Neyaashiinigamiing. Oh, Neyaashiinigamiing in dibandagas, right? We put an N at the front and we delete the short I because that's short vowel deletion, okay? In dibandagas. Ampish debandagsian. Oh, Neyaashiinigamiing in dibandagas. Ampish debandagsian. Oh, Neyaashiinigamiing in dibandagas. I'm from Neyaashiinigamiing. All right. So that's how you do that. Ampish debandagsian. Neyaashiinigamiing in dibandagas. Let's do some more. I'm just going to blast through a few of these just to kind of give you a bit of an idea here. Let's ask a when question. Okay. So I'll say, did the old man, um, when did the old man, we'll just do something easy like leave. Okay. So our word up at the front for when, as in like the question when, is Anish P. Anish P is asking when? Question mark. Anish P. Then we're going to use the verb. Okay. Maja is to leave. Then old man is Kiwanzi. Okay. So you need to deal with the verb. It needs to be in C form, but it's when did the old man leave? So put your tense marker on first because you're going to see what happens and why that's important. Because it's hyphenated and it's one word, Gimaja, he leaves, or sorry, he left. This gi is now our first vowel, right? Going left to right in Gimaja. Gi is the first vowel, not the double A in Maja, but the gi here. Okay, this two I's. So two I's becomes two A's. There's your initial change, gi to ga, right? And then at the end, we still need our conjunct ending, but for third person, because we're talking about a koezi. So at the end, it's a D because that's third person singular. And there you have it. That's how easy it is to make a question. Anish P Gamajad Kwenzi. Anish P Gamajad Kwenzi. When did the old man leave? Let's say the old man left at 3 o'clock. We're going to lead with at 3. But remember, times are verbs in Ojibwe. They are VII verbs. So 3 o'clock is niso diba iganet. Niso diba iganet. It is 3 o'clock. It is 3 o'clock. Niso diba iganet, period. That's A form. At 3 is B form. Okay. It means like when it's 3 o'clock or as it's 3 o'clock. B form. Okay. So what happens to niso diba iganet to put it into B form? Well, a VII ending in a D, you swap the D with a K, Debaiganek. Niso Debaiganek at 3. Niso Debaiganek at 3. Gimaja Kwenzi. Nisodabaiganek Gimaja Quincy. Nisodabaiganek at 3. Gimaja, he left. Quincy, the old man. Anish P Gamajad Quincy. Nisodabaiganek Gimaja Quincy. When did the old man leave? At 3 o'clock, the old man left. Okay, I think Yoda talk. Okay. So there's another one. Let's do a couple more. Okay. So I'm gonna do something like maybe who. Okay, so I want to ask like who um wants to sing? Who wants to sing? Who wants to sing? So our question word for who is wenen or wenesh. So wenen, wenesh doesn't matter. I'll have wenesh, but you can also say wenen, and that's the same thing. Okay. So wenen, wenesh. And then the verb is he or she sings. Okay. He or she sings. So we're going to use nagamo, nagamo, nagamo. He or she sings. Nagamo, nagamo. He or she sings. Now it's who wants to sing. So what are we going to do about wants to? We're not going to go find another verb and like, oh, like we're going to use like miss when dumb. He or she wants or like is desires something. No, no, no. We're not starting to make like a conjunct kind of train here. We can do better than that. We're just going to use the tense marker. We. We nagamo. He wants to sing. We nagamo. She wants to sing. That's it, right? We don't need to go find another verb. Just use the tense marker. We. He or she, somebody wants to. But now we nagamo needs to be put into Cform. It's a content question. It has to be in Cform. So initial change. We. This is the first vowel in the verb is we, like this two I's here. So two I's become two A's. Wa. That's your initial change. Then at the end, we need to pick who the actor is going to be here. It doesn't really say it. Like we're saying, it's not like you, who is you want to sing, or who is I want to sing, or who is he or she wants to sing. It doesn't say the actor in this question, but you have to understand how it gets asked. We're asking like who is the one, who's that person? Like here in this room, who's going to be the one? Is it him? Is it her? Is it who's the one here who wants to sing? And that often gets understood as third person singular. So it's going to be a D at the end. Okay. It'll be a D. And just like that, we have a who question. Who wants to sing? Owenesh wa nagamut. Wenesh wa nagamut. Wenesh wa nagamut. Who wants to sing? And let's say those those girls want to sing. Those girls want to sing. Those girls want to sing. Okay, so we have we na gamo, he or she wants to sing. We have those girls. Okay, Quaisance is one of them. How do I say those girls or the girls plural? Quaisance is one. Quaisance sug is plural. Quaisance sug. And then what about those girls? How do I point at those girls? O is singular, but I can't say O Quaisance sug. It sounds crazy. We need gil or igil or ingil, whichever way you want to say it. Gil Quaisance sug. Those girls. Gil Quaisance sug. But again, this isn't quite right yet. We nagamo gil Quaisance sug. Mm, no, this needs to be plural in A form, the verb. Okay. We nagamo, plural. We nagamuag. Oh, we nagamuag. We nagamuag gil Quaisance sug. We nagamuag gil Quaisance sug. Those girls want to sing. Oh, wenesh wa nagamud? Wenesh wa nagamud? Oh, we nagamuag gil Quaisance sug. We nagamuag gil Quaisance sug. So there's a who question. Okay. Very, very nice. So let's keep going. I'm trying to show you like a few different ones here. We can ask like a what question. Okay. Like we can ask a what question as well. Like these are a little bit harder because often we use what questions with like VTIs and stuff like that. Like, what are you holding? What are you looking at? What do you want to use? What are you making? What are you building? What are you painting? What are you? Those are all VTIs. So there's tons of what questions that are VTI based. So we'll just have to pick a VII here. Like, how about something like what? Um, oh, something like this. How about like what is um, what is being used, or like what is used? Okay, and this will work good, and you'll see kind of how this works. So the question word for what, okay, is Waganesh. Waganesh. So you've got like Wenesh for who, Wenesh is who, and Waganesh is what. Okay, and you'll see varying levels of like Wagnesh, Waganesh, Waganendush, Wenesh, Wenendush. Well, there's all these like slight variances, so don't get like crazy hooked on one because you might, depending who you're talking to, they might change them a little bit. But for the most part, Wenen or Wenesh is who, and Weganen or Weganesh is what. So now we want to say what is used or what is being used. So we need a VII verb. It is used. But Objetichigade. Objetichigade. Objetichigade is a VII. It is used. Objetichigade. It is used. So then if we put it into C form, we take it is used and it becomes that which is used or the thing that is used. Then I can say Waganesh with that, and it's what is the thing that's being used. And that's how you put that together. So let's do it. So Abjicigade starts with two A's. Ah, that's the first vowel here. So what does two A's become? Ah becomes a ya. Ah becomes a ya. That's the initial change for that one. And then at the end here, this is a VII that ends in a vowel. So what is the conjunct ending for a VII like that? Just the G. And that's it. Done. Weganesh, the Abjicigade. Oh, Weganesh, the Abjicigade. Waganeshi Abjicigade. What is being used or what is used? Okay. Oh, what's being used right now? Well, Waganeshi Abjicigade. Megla. Right, what's being used right now? And then you can answer that and say a hammer is being used, right? Or a hammer is used. Okay. Bakete gun. Abjicigade. Just an A form, right? Abjicigade. That's the A form version, right? Before we changed it, that's what we did up here, right? So, Weganeshi Abjicigade. Weganeshi Abjicigade. What's being used? Oh, Baktagan Abjicigade. A hammer is being used. Baktagan Abjicigade. Weganeshi Abjicigade. Oh, Baktagan Abjicigade. What's being used? A hammer is being used. Okay, so there's another good one. Um, we'll do another thing here. There's maybe one or two other little questions I want to show you. A different one is um, why. Okay, why requires the use of a relative root, which is kind of cool. And I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so if I want to ask like, why are you crying? Okay, if I want to ask that, why are you crying? Okay, why are you crying? You're gonna answer that, or you're gonna ask that, okay, with Anish, but then you also need a relative root on the verb, and I'll show you what that looks like. So the verb for crying, he or she cries, is mue, mue. Mui. He or she cries. All right. And then you need the relative root on the front. Onje. Onje. Onje means from a certain place or for a certain reason. And that's what we're using it for here is like for a certain reason. So now we're going to make this into C form. Okay. So again, initial change, O becomes WE, onje becomes wenje. Okay, there's my initial change, onje to wenje. And then at the end of this VAI, because it's for you, we need the U ending in conjunct order, which is yin. Okay, onish wenje moyin, onish wenje moyin, onish wenje moyin. Why are you crying? Why are you crying? And there's different ways to make this answer. And I'm going to give you like the easiest one that requires the least amount of trouble. Okay. If we wanted to say, I am crying because I am sad, we'll just make it like really just super obvious. Okay. Just an easy thing just to show off the grammar. So, Ani Moyen, why are you crying? I'm crying because I'm sad. I am crying is a form, right? I am crying, period. I'm crying. So we take mui and we say ni Mao, Nimao, or a lot of people do Ndimao, Ndimao. So Ndimao or Nimao, I'd probably say Ndimao, Ndimao or Nimao, right? I'm crying. We put an N at the front somehow, and then we delete the short I because it's the VAI, final short vowel deletion. Mwe becomes Ndimao. And then we want to say because I am sad. Okay. There's different ways to do because. You can use onje again and use onje, but then you have to use oftentimes me, and we haven't talked about me yet. It's a whole other like kettle of fish, so we're not going to go there. So I'm going to use the easy way, which is unzam. Unzam typically means too much or overly. So I could say like, oh, unzam in the echoes, like I'm too tired, or like, oh, unzam in debsini, oh, I'm too full. But now we're leveraging on it to make it work as because. So then you can use nzam a form. So then it's just I'm sad. So if you take gush kandam, which is one of the words for being sad, gush kandam, he or she is sad, you can just make it first person a form. Okay. In the mao nzam in gush kandam, I'm crying because I'm sad. A form, a form. In the mao nzam in gush kandam, I'm crying because I'm sad. A form, a form. With Nzam linking the two clauses together. In Demal, Nzam and Gushkandam. I'm crying because I'm sad. So there's an easy way to do it that it's not a cheat. It really is a way that people talk, but it's the easier way to do because. Okay, so that's what I'll show you here. Anish wenje moyen or in the Nzam in Gushkandam. So again, unje being used to create the Y, and if there's no tense marker in front of it, it becomes wenje. Okay. If it was a past tense thing, I'll just show you quickly. If it was past tense, then you'd have to stack those preverbs. Like if I wanted to say like was the woman um why was the woman yelling? I don't know. Okay. We're asking Anish. The verb for yelling is bibage and woman is que, which is fine. But if I want to ask why was she yelling, we need onje because we're asking why. But then we also need a tense marker because it's why was she in the past. So it's gi goes in front of onje. So we have gi onje, bibage is now the verb we're using. Now, it's not that we're changing unje to wenje. Mm-mm. And we're not changing bibage to babage, right? The first vowel is this gi up here. That becomes ga. Unje bibage. The D goes at the end because it's third person. Gi to ga is initial change. Question mark. Oh, Anish ganje bibagid que. Anish ganje bibagid que. Oh, que gi bibage zam zegze. Okay, the woman was yelling because she was scared. Que gi bibage zam zegze. The woman is was yelling because she's scared. Okay, so that's how you could do that. Okay, or que gi bibage zam zam zegze. Okay, the woman was yelling because she was scared. Okay, A form, que gibi bage, A form, she was yelling, and zam, giz exit, because she was scared. Okay, so there's how you do that if there was a tense marker. Okay. Um, and then I think we're almost there. This is getting to be a long video, but I'm trying to show you all these different things because again, like we're almost done our little course here, and these videos are going to be what you have to kind of like um, you know, review and they'll be here forever and you can use these to kind of guide your language learning in the future. So the last thing I'll just do is like why. Okay. Why was um why are you um I don't know, why are you tired? Oh no, it wasn't why, it was how. That's what I wanted to do. I just did why. How um are actually we can just do something like how are you? Like how are you yeah, we'll just leave it like that. How are you? So when you're doing how, okay, for why we had unje to deal with, right? For why we're dealing with unje, anish and unje gives you why. For how we're doing anish and you need ije somehow. You either add it as a preverb or you find verbs that already have ije built in. Like I can ask anish ejnikazian, how are you named? Well, ijinikazo already has ije built into it, right? Ijinikazo starts with ije. It's built into the word. So you can use that. Or if the verb doesn't have ije built in, then you have to add it. Okay. So when it comes to how are you, the verb to be in a certain state is aya. So you end up with ije aya. Okay. Which then becomes like, is it like the way that you are, the way that he or she is, ije aya. He or she is a certain way. Ije aya. He or she is a certain way. That then can become Cform. Okay, so ije becomes age. That's your initial change, I to E. And then at the end, for you, we put yin. Okay, anish age ayayin. That's why that is the way that it is. Okay, anish age ayayin. Anish age ayayin. Aya is to like be something. Ije aya is to be in a certain way. And then anish age ayayin is like, how is it that you are? Like, what is the way that you are? Anish age ayayin. And then you could say whatever you want as an answer. Okay. Like you could say, um, a lot of people will say ne mino aya because you can put a preverb of like state onto aya. So mino means good, minoya means he or she is good. Ne minoya, I'm good. So you can do something like that. Um, you could do whatever you want. Okay, so let's just do a simple answer like that. Niminoya, which means I am good. Niminoya, ni minoya, I am good. right? A form. Anish eje ayayin, ni minoya. Anish eje ayayin, ni minoya. There's a really good answer. Okay, ni minoya. But you could answer anything that you wanted on there as far as you could say like, oh, I feel a little bit sick. Oh, bungi indakas. Oh, bungi indakas. I feel a little sick. Or you could say whatever. You could say that you're tired. Oh, off to go into yakas. Oh, I'm really tired. Or you could say like, oh, I'm feeling a bit sad. Oh, bungi and gushkanda. I'm feeling a little sad. You could say whatever you want as an answer, right? It could be anything. You get to speak whatever you want to say. Okay. So yeah, those how questions will have ije or eje um, somehow connected to the front. Okay. Even if I want to ask like how um, it could be something like, oh yeah, like if I want to ask what does the I don't know, what does the dog look like? Or how does the dog look? That's the other thing. It'd be like, how does the dog look? You're gonna see that we're gonna ask with Anish, and then the verb is ijinagaze. He or she looks a certain way. And ijinagaze starts with ije, right? You see that ije is built into ijinagaze. He or she looks a certain way. So then I can put namash after, whatever, the dog. And then Anish, I to E, je nagazit. Anish esh nagazit namash. What does the dog look like, or how does the dog look? Anish esh nagazit namash. You know you're asking the right type of question because you want to ask how does he look? You have Anish and you have ije built into the front of the word. So you're doing the right thing. Anish esh nagazit namash. What does the dog look like? You could say, oh, namash gete uh gete nagazit. Oh, namash gete nagazit. The dog looks old. Okay, gete nagaze means he or she looks old. Ani shej nagaze namash. Oh, namash gete nagaze. Dog looks old. So again, when you're asking those how does he look? Anish, and somehow you're going to have to deal with ije. Okay, ije is part of the how world. So you gotta the two are in relation. Just like when you want to ask why, it's Anish and unje, because that's how you get why. Okay, so there it is. That was a long video here. And I know I had talked about wanting to show you, maybe I should take 5 seconds. If you want to look up the ABC form for something um, in here in the dictionary, I'll show it to you. We'll look up like ijinagaze, the verb I just showed you. He or she has a certain look or appearance, or he or she looks a certain way. If you click on ijinagaze, which is a VAI, and you just scroll down to the little nerd strip here, which is below it, right? Shows all these conjugations. This is where you find what the like the B and C form looks like. It'll just give you for third person though. So indigenagos, there's your first person independent. That's a form for me. So indigenagos, I look a certain way, or nindigenagos or nidigenagos. These are all first person independent. So I look a certain way. But then here's where the good stuff is for us right now. Igenagose, third person independent. That's third person A form, right? Independent order is A form, right? So indigenag or igenagose, third person independent. Then we have igenagozid, igenagozid, third person conjunct. Igenagozid, third person conjunct. That's when or if he looks a certain way. That's B form. And then we have agenagozid, agenagozid, third person changed conjunct. Okay. That's why you need to know these terms. Plain conjunct, changed conjunct, independent. That's how the dictionaries talk about this. Okay. Agenagozid, that shows you your change. Okay. And if we look up another verb like the one we just used, gete nagaze. Here she looks old, right? Gete nagaze. You'll see that again. Um, what did they literally? Is this the one example where they don't show you C form? That's crazy. I'll just go look up another verb very fast. Um, just some random thing like um, akaze, he or she is sick. Okay, akaze, he or she is sick. Again, in here, you have indakas, nindakas, or nidakas. That's like first person independent. I'm sick. Three different ways to say I'm sick. Okay, so just don't get lost in those. It's just different attachments at the front. Then we have the good stuff. Okay, here. Akuze, third person independent. He or she is sick. A form. Akuzid. Akuzid. Third person conjunct, just plain conjunct. Akuzid. If he's sick, when he's sick, until he's sick, you know, all those different things, right, that we were looking at that are B form. Then we have a yakuzid with initial change, obviously, a yakuzid, third person, change conjunct. So that's how you can use the dictionary. If you forget what your initial changes are, oh, I forget, O becomes this and I becomes that and two A's. Oh, geez, I can't remember. Just go in the dictionary. It'll show you the changed conjunct for that verb. A becomes a ya it. That's it for third person. Then you can change your ending. Ya kazion, ya kazien, ya kazawad. You can change your conjunct ending. Okay. And it's the same thing for the I verbs too. Okay. Like I could look up like um uh ozawa. Okay. It is yellow. There's the VII verb. Oh, okay. So ozawa. I want to say what is yellow? I want to be able to ask what is yellow. So I need to be able to put yellow into C form. So I'm going to click on ozawa and then look right here. Ozawa, independent order. That's A form. Ozawag with a G at the end, plain conjunct order if it's yellow or when it's yellow. Then O becomes WE, right? So wezawag, changed conjunct. That's C form. Okay, so then you could take wezawag and say, Oweganesh wezawag. What is yellow? Oweganesh ma wezawag. What here is yellow? Maybe you're playing I Spy in an immersion thing, and someone says, "Oh, Oweganesh ma wezawag. What here is yellow?" Oh, Minakwagan Ozawa. Oh, the cup is yellow. Okay, so that's the type of you can use the dictionary to find the C form and B form for things. Okay, so really, really important that you can do this. Then if you forget your initial changes, you can still use your dictionary and find it, even if you don't have your notes with you. Okay, so important thing to be able to find that in dictionaries. Okay, that's that. So that's going to be it for today. I know that was a way longer video than I expected, but again, we're at the final hour here in our series, and there's so much I got to teach you. So hopefully that was helpful, and we'll see you guys around. Okay, we got